Alright, first I'm going to make sure the video's picking up on the stream. Okay, so the video's picking up. Now then, section number 4 world, I'm going to revise it. This is going to involve fixing up the semantics. Funny. Scroll through it. Okay, section number 4 world. Okay, the colon came after world, not before. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay, so this is going to involve changes to semantics, the formatting, and make sure there's no outdated changes. So, the outline. The outline looks fine. The agenda. I generally want to make elite mobs be generally much harder to kill than before. Make it be nigh impossible to take advantage of the terrain to kind of non-player characters, lest many game-breaking exploits be possible. Massively, yes, game-breaking. Massively nerf most world buffs because they're overpowered in raids. Make dampened magic not trivialize fighting certain important NPCs. Make the Encourage war efforts turn-in requirements not be known ahead of time to any player, even if it already happened on a different server. Flesh out the game. Copy. Paste. Prevent really low-level characters from farming chests in high-level zones without someone clearing out the mobs for them first. Make black glows to spawn like arcane crystals and make it be easier to compete for them, especially if you're a new player. Make it be harder to nab certain objects, such as herbalism nodes and chests, without first killing the hostile NPCs around it. And I want to do things that are related to other sections where applicable. You know what, I can actually delete this part because it's already covered by the make it harder to nab certain objects without clearing mobs around it part. And I want to do things related to other sections where applicable. The content release schedule for each server shall be as follows. Upon release, all content that hasn't been mentioned below is available to players, including axe ramps and the AQ quest chain. This is per server, not for all servers, but per server. That's actually what it meant already, but it wasn't worded good enough. 1 day after the Encourage gates open, the Scourge Invasion will begin. 1 month after the Scourge Invasion ends, the Elemental Invasion begins. 1 month after the Elemental Invasion begins, all Elemental Invaders cease to respawn. Additionally, after somebody kills Cthulhu and loots the Platinum Discs of Oldham, they'll be able to turn into Discs of Oldham for 10,000 gold, which can only be obtained once per server per character. Once per server. And then open the Gates of Oldham, which is a level 48 to 55 zone, if I recall correctly, which contains a low 50s dungeon and nothing else for the endgame. Alright, then, mining your notes. Sweeping NPC changes. Elite mobs will generally be changed as such. Elite mobs will, for the time being, generally have twice as much health as before. I'll fine-tune this later. Outdoor elite mobs and elite mobs in 5-man dungeons will generally hit 14 times as hard as a typical uninstanced non-elite mob of their level. 10-man elites will instead hit 22 times harder. 20-man elite mobs will instead hit 29 times harder. And 40-man elite mobs will instead hit 63 times harder. Level 1 to 10 elite mobs will receive none of the above difficulty increases. Level 11 to 15 elite mobs will only receive 20% of the above difficulty increases. Mobs with a level range of 15 to over 15 will be treated by this change as if they are all level 15. Level 16 and 20 elite mobs will only receive 40% of the above difficulty increases. Mobs with a level range of 20 to over 20 will be treated by this change as if they are all level 20. Level 21 to 25 elite mobs will only receive 60% of the above difficulty increases. Mobs with a level range of 25 to over 25 will be treated by the change as if they're all level 25. Level 26 to 30 elite mobs will only receive 80% of the above difficulty increases. Mobs with a low range of 30 to over 30 will be treated by the change as if they are all level 30. Oh. While mobs with a level range of under 15 to 15 will be treated by this change as if they were all below level 15. How about mobs with a low range will be treated by this change as if they were all of the mob's minimum level. Copy, paste, paste, paste. There, that covers more cases, such as mobs that range from level 14 to 15. Well, from level 14 to... actually, forget it, does it not? Whatever. Anyway, it's more concise. Whatever. Or maybe it's not more concise. Anyway, level 31 and higher elite mobs will receive 100% of the above difficulty increases. Mobs that have a level range from under 31 to 31 will be treated by this change as if they were all under level 31. Copy, paste, now replace level with LVO. Make it more concise. And save file size for whatever it's worth. Obviously, certain non-player characters will be excluded from some of these buffs, such as Archmage Argol, Arcadus, and not so obviously, all of Alterac Valley's non-player characters. The full list of such non-player characters is yet to be composed. The design intention of this is that Philosophies in 5-man dungeons generally get 3-shotted at the minimum appropriate level in the minimum expected gear, provided the dungeon is harder than Blackfathom Depths, which means that dungeons actually need a tank, and a tank that is not a quotation mark tank, quotation mark, but one that actually uses a shield, and is therefore a proper tank, and it means that chain pulling generally won't happen without people dying left and right, and that crowd control generally gets used in 5-man dungeons, and that the tank losing aggro in a 5-man dungeon is actually of consequence. There should be some sort of learning curve, but it's more important that people don't spell cleave or melee cleave any dungeon. So I made it curve as hard as it does. Copy. So I made it curve as hard as it does. As part of elite mobs having tons of health and hitting really hard, approximately 30% of their health, mana, and physical damage will come from strength, agility, stam, int, and attack power, which they'll have a lot of. As such, 5 out of 5 improved Demoralizing Shout, Screech, that's right, you can't improve Demoralizing Shout anymore. As such, Demoralizing Shout, Screech, Scorpion Sting, Vindication, and various debuffs that reduce stats will be useful in raids, even when all used at the same time, when considering the debuff limit. The debuff limit speed increased from 16 to 128, see section number 10, other. Yes, I replaced improved Demoralizing Shout with a completely different talent. Non-player character bonuses from the following stats shall be as follows for all non-player characters that are not Hunter Pets or Warlock Demons. That are not Hunter Pets Warlock Demons, or Temporary Summons. Which I actually meant in the first place, I'm not going to change one. One Strength will give a non-player character 2 melee attack power, as well as 1 block value per 20 Strength. One Agility will grant them 2 range attack power, and 1/55% of a melee range critical strike chance by 60, and 1/55% of a dodge chance by 60, and +2 armor. One Stamina will grant 10 hit points. One Int will grant 15 mana, and 1/55 of a spell critical strike chance at 60. One Spirit will grant the same as for player character Druids, for now. And one Attack Power shall grant the same thing as it does for all player characters. Take note of the changes to Demoralize and Shout and Roar, Screech, Curse Weakness, and some other abilities that cause them to still be useful in raids despite this change to Attack Power. Scaling for NPCs. So how Attack Power works for NPCs. Not only NPC attack power and possibly weapon damage will be changed to that approximately 30% of their damage as before, consider attack power instead of a hit as hard as before without any debuffs. Elite mobs, raid mobs, and raid bosses will typically have an attack speed of exactly 2.5. Any other attack speed would sort of qualify as a special mechanic for bosses and trash mobs. Oh, that reminds me. .5 NPC attack speed. I'm gonna have to re-put the itemization formulae document since I remembered to denote the assumption of 2.5 attack speed being used for itemization. NPC attack speed. A typical level 60 non-elite, non-caster, non-player character is assumed to have dealt approximately 40 base damage per second without any special abilities during patch 1.12.2 of World of Warcraft. Please correct me if I'm wrong. The above means that typical 5-man level 60 non-caster elites, such as typical outdoor elite mobs, will deal 1,120 to 1,680 raw physical damage per hit, so you might, while you're taking 5-man, to use a shield, even in raid, in dungeons, to use a shield, even if they aren't prot, aren't tank spec, and you might actually be afraid to pull aggro off of them. It also means that typical 10-man level 60 non-caster elites will deal 1,760 to 2,640 raw damage per hit. The typical 20-man level 60 non-caster elite will deal 2,320 to 3,480 raw damage per hit, and a typical 40-man level 60 non-caster elite will deal 5,040 to 7,560 raw damage per hit, and at raid bosses they usually hit even harder, so you might actually want your non-druid tanks raids to use a shield. Obviously, caster mobs will hit accordingly harder for their spells according to the above, whether they're 5, 10, 20, or 40-man elite mobs. Hold on here. So, say the enemy does 7,560 raw damage. It gets reduced by Demoralize and Shout to this much, by Screech to this much, and then Vindication and Scorpion Sting and a 15 strength debuff come in, So that's 60 plus 68 plus 15 divided by 2. 71.5 strength. Wait. 68 plus 60 plus 68 plus 60 plus 15 times 2, not divided by 2. 286 attack power. Divided by 0.97, divided by 0.95. Minus 51. Now times 0.95 times 0.93. 0.95 is in the demoralization jump to 0.93 is from Screech. And then another 0.95 from Curse of Weakness. And Blessed the Sanctuary means another 0.97. And then you apply armor. So let's say you got 55% damage reduction. I don't know. Times 0.45. And now you apply defensive stance. So you take nearly 2,500 damage per hit. If you get critted by that, that's nearly 5,000 damage. I actually might have to make these guys hit harder. Nah, wait. Yeah, I might have to make these guys hit harder. Warriors stand no risk of being critically stricken at all. These guys in... these 40-man raids, they gotta deal more damage. So that tanks are forced to use a shield lest they get one-shotted by a critical strike. Then wait. Divided by 1.5. Copy, paste. So say divided by 0.45. You're back up to no armor. Now let's say you're not using a shield, you have 45% damage reduction from armor. Times 0.55. And then you get critted. You take 6k damage. You actually might not even have that many hit points after buffs and consumables. Maybe. Actually, it's kind of shaky. I better make it higher. These, excuse me. This number was made before I buffed Stone Skin Totem, Windwall Totem, and Dampen Magic, Amplify Magic, and Blessed Sanctuary to be percentage based if it would be bigger than the flat damage reduction, except it's not a buff for Amplify Magic. Exactly. So... Geez, how much harder do I want these guys to hit? What is that, a 1.2 damage range? 5,040 plus 7,560 divided by 2 equals, wait no, 5,040 times 1.4, yeah, it's no, it's not 1.2 damage, it's divided by 1.4 times 1.5, yeah, it's a 1.5 damage range, okay. Let me see here, 6,000. How about 7,200? Make extra sure that those guys die. Okay, so 14 times 1.2. Actually, what if I just multiply by 1.15? Okay, sure. $16 times 22 times 1.2. 26 times 29 times 1.2. Wait, 14 times 1.15. Wait, no, I'm using 1.2, not 1.2. I'm using 1.15, not 1.2. 25 times over, okay. 29 times 1.15. 33. And then 63 times 1.15 equals 72. So let me see here. 40 base damage per second. That becomes, with 16, 640 per second times 2.5. 1600 divided by 1.25. 1280 to 1920. Times, what was it, 26? 25. 22 times 1.15, yeah, 25. 40 times 25 times 2.5 divided by 1.25 times 1.5, 3,000. What was it for 20 mans? 33 times harder. 40 times 33 times 2.5 divided by 1.25, 2,640. Times 1.5, 3,960. Damage per hit. And then 40 man is 72 times harder. So 40 times 72 times 2.5 equals 7,200. Divided by 1.25, 5,760. Two times 1.5, 8,640. So, let's say a typical NPC hits, let's say a typical raid elite NPC in a 40-man raid hits for 8,640 non-critical damage. Attack power reduction reduces it by 51. Demoralizing shot reduces it to that, and then Curse of Weakness reduces it to that, and then Screech reduces it to this, and Blessed in the Sanctuary reduces it to this, and then Armor reduces it to that, and Defensive Stance reduces it to this, and then Block reduces it by 120. Plus 120 divided by 0.45 times 0.55. So if you're attempting to tank with two weapons instead of a weapon and a shield as a warrior, you're going to be capable of getting critically triggered for 7,221 damage, which will probably one-shot you. Which means that you need a shield to tank. The Horde will take very slightly less damage because they have Stone Skin Totem instead of Blessed in the Sanctuary. However, they also take a little bit more spell damage. Stoneskin Totem has more percent damage reduction than Blessed Sanctuary does. Again, these percentage damage reductions only kick in if the flat damage reduction would be smaller. Which means it'll have very little effect upon PvP. The percentage damage reduction stuff. Anyway. How about 25% less damage? Caster mobs, enemies. Obviously, caster mobs will hit accordingly harder than spells according to the above, whether they're 5, 10, 20, or 40 man elite mobs. Caster mobs and elementals will generally deal 25% less damage than what's mentioned above for their melee attacks. For example, some fire elementals, trash mob, and the molten core would deal a Fire Lord would deal. That's not an up-to-date number anymore. Let me see here. 5760 times 0.75. 4,320 to 8640 times 0.75. 6480 damage per hit, which can crush for a maximum of times 1.5. 9,720, and then maximum crushing can be reduced to. That's not up to date anymore. Oh wait, that's right. Crushing blows. Excuse me. Resisted attacks can no longer be crushing blows. That's right. That's right. I forgot. So let me see here. Hold on here. 8,640 times 0.5 equals 4,320. So it shouldn't really be an issue if you're actually resist capped. So elementals will no longer generally deal less damage than what's mentioned above for their melee attacks. Start from there. Paste. Made elemental NPCs not get nerfed. Made elite elemental NPCs not get deal more damage. Made elite NPCs deal approximately 15% more damage overall by level 30. Why? And made elite elemental NPCs deal even more damage, which they can afford to do now that their resistance system is as such that being resist capped will mean that you take an absolute maximum of 50% damage. And yes, I do mean absolute. No longer is there a 1% chance for your resistance to do nothing anymore when you're resist capped. So, next up. Pre-stat reduction NPC crit chances, as before, special in that it's typically equal to 5% plus 0.04 per player character's defense below the NPC's weapon skill, and minus 0.04% per player character's defense above the NPC's weapon skill. Copy. Pre-stat reduction NPC dodge chances, as before, special in that it's typically equal to 5% plus 0.1% per player character's weapon skill below the NPC's defense, and minus 0.1% per player character's weapon skill above the NPC's defense. ensure it'll be ensured that, as from 2004 to 2006, NPCs will ignore feared players while they are feared in favor of unfeared players. NPCs such as Nefarian. All elite mobs in 40 main range will be able to see all forms of invisibility by default, preventing you from exploiting them for lesser invisibility potions and gnomish cloaking devices. Wait a second, hold on. Invisibility. Is there a regular invisibility potion? Invisibility potion. Okay, so you just delete the lesser part. All elite mods that would not pose undue complications if they are faster will innately have 125% of normal movement speed if it would be higher than it was before, and they'll, regardless of it being faster or not, have their movement speed be increased at all times by the amount by which they are slowed on top of being slowed. For example, rank 3 of Wing Clip will give them 60% bonus move speed on top of the slow, resulting in 80% total move speed. And its movement speed boost, while slowed, will stack multiplicatively with all other movement speed boosting effects, and they'll have the durations of all movement speed slowing effects and immobilizing effects upon them reduced by 50%. This is part of getting rid of the spell cleave metagame for good. And instance as well as staving off inflation by making it less profitable to farm low-level dungeons by yourself. For some classes. For mages to farm low-level dungeons. Copy. Paste. All uninstanced elite mods, which used to be elite mobs patch 1.1.0, and the centaurs out of Mardon will be elite mobs, and all relevant quests will be changed accordingly. All non-player characters that are capable of moving and are not controlled by a player will be capable of running up 90-degree and even 180-degree angles in order to chase players, and will never hesitate to run up even a 180-degree angle in order to get in melee range, within melee range of whoever is the highest under aggro table, should it be the quickest path to that player, considering both vertical and horizontal distance. Player or player's minion, considering both vertical and horizontal distance. This does not mean that NPCs will run upon thin air to reach the player. Cut, paste. Paste. Copy, paste. Obviously, this is part of getting rid of the spell cleave metagame for good, as well as saving off inflation by making it be less profitable for mages to farm low-level dungeons. This particular change is admittedly bad game design, and the only bad game design in this design document, but the alternative is the only alternative is sterilizing the game's level design which would cost months and months worth of labor to do, and wouldn't be much better, if at all. Level design and NPCs. Well, actually, I could probably do something with a fuck ton of effort to just make all NPCs have stuff that, Well, you could probably still figure out a way to exploit that, Yeah, the alternative is sterilizing the game's level design, and that is not a better thing to do. All instances delete mobs, I already said that. The distance that a non-player character must be from a player in order to begin invading will only consider the non-player character's horizontal distance from the player, in order to prevent exploits. Copy. Paste. When a non-player character has been in combat for 3 consecutive minutes or more, the non-player character will evade bug back to where it was aggroed from in order to prevent things such as having Windwalker Caldon of Cenarion hold in Solidus, who offers the field duty quests, be kited to a hidden spot on the other side of the continent at 4 a.m. and then cheat there by evasion as people take turns playing its account 24/7 to keep it cheap until the server does its weekly reset. Certain non-player characters, such as Azure and Omen, will be exceptions to this change. I'm gonna go get some water. Okay. Non-player characters will never respawn their pickpocketing loot tables until the NPCs themselves respawn. So no, you cannot farm the shit out of the spectators in Blackrock Depths. It can only go around the circle once per reset. All world bosses in attraction. Oh, and on top of that, pickpocketing loot is 80% lower in instances than it is outside of instances. That's mentioned elsewhere now. Next up, all world bosses and attraction mobs will be designed around being fought with 20 players. Without hard on making 20-man raid mobs hit, they'll still be plenty hard to beat, given that other players can disrupt your attempts to kill the boss, even on PvE servers. This is being done in part because their loot isn't quite as good as 40-man raid loot. Whenever an NPC uses a mechanic that pulls the entire room time, he'll use that mechanic again every 10 seconds till he dies or de-aggroes. Which will prevent exploits. All Dark Iron Dwarves, demonic cants that are not Fell Hunters, enemies with Flamewaker models, enemies with Earth/Lava Elemental models, enemies with Molten Giant models and coloration, enemies with Corehound models, golems, and humanoid members of the Twilight's Tentacle will not be allowed to have won't be allowed to have more base fire uses and sanitation as they reach more than 50% of the average fire damage dealt to them. To resist more than half of the average fire damage dealt to them by hit capped enemies at their level, so 210 for level 63 mobs. This will make sure that fire mages and fire destruction warlocks will do fine in Blackrock Depths and in Molten Core, without there being weird exceptions that make some Molten Giants have a lot of fire resistance and other ones be immune to fire. Well, in Blackrock Mountain. So also including Blackrock Spire and Blackwing Lair. Paste. All Dragonkin will not be allowed, won't be allowed, to have enough base resistance to any school of magic for them to resist more than half of the average damage of the relevant type dealt to them by hit capped enemies at their level. So 210 resistance for level 63 mobs. This is done for the above purpose, except for Upper Blackhawk Spire, Lower Blackhawk Spire, Blackwing Lair, and Nixie's Lair. Done for I'm just gonna combine these into one change. And all dragon and won't be allowed to have enough base resistance, etc., etc. This is done so that fire mages and destro locks, well, deep destro locks are fire by default, will do fine in Blackrock Mountain, and then, and so that elemental shamans will, and enhanced shamans will do fine in the Emerald Dream. And versus the Nightmare Dragons. And then it affects other mobs for the sake of consistency. Copy. Paste. Changes to specific non-player characters. High Overlord Sorfang's level will be increased by 1 to 63. His level by 1, displayed as Skull, and he'll be classified as a boss. Because it's High Overlord Sorfang, and I don't want Priest mind controlling him, not because he can then slaughter dozens of horde players, but because he's High Overlord Sorfang. Because Dampen Magic is overpowered in some cases, Dust Stormers, this is the list of elementals, will have their Lightning Cloud ability removed and replaced with a spell called Lightning Strike, which has a 50-yard range, a long cast time, and deals a very high amount of nature damage by striking the opponent with lightning from above. You could probably use Vigils from an expansion pack for this spell. Because Dampen Magic is overpowered in some cases, Scorching Elementals, Living Blaze, and while I'm at it, Entropic Beasts and Entropic Hordes will be given Flame Buffet, a spell that deals fire damage and increases fire damage taken by X via a magical debuff for its duration. This will stack pretty high, if not indefinitely. Because Dampen Magic is overpowered in some cases, the localized Toxin of Toxic Horrors, when it reaches 5 stacks, will immediately end its duration, deal 960 to 1020 nature damage, and stun its victim for a few seconds. For 3 seconds. Copy. Paste. Because Dampen Magic is overpowered in some cases, Plague Ravagers, the water elementals in the Eastern Plaguelands, will be given a second disease ability that lasts for 30 seconds and make your throat swell, dealing a small amount of nature damage per stack every 3 seconds. It's a your spell cases can be by 20% per stack, and then at 5 stacks, it instead prevents you from eating, drinking, using potions, casting spells, or breathing. It caps at 5 stacks. For a time. It caps at 5 stacks. How about for 30 seconds? Yeah, it caps at 5 stacks. Define the throat swelling disease of Plague Ravagers to last for 30 seconds. The ability of Gravel Snap Figures called Skullcrack will be increased back to its original duration of 6 seconds to make it game a bit harder. To go towards making the game harder. Yeah, I mean, it's just a drop in the water, but it still goes towards making the water level get higher. That's a better way to explain it I had there. Each Devil Sword spawn, including King Botch, will have 2 or more patrol routes, which are picked upon spawning, and when Devil Swords respawn, they'll spawn at a random part of their selected patrol. This would add a bit of danger that the danger that Ungrow Crater was known for. way back when to Ungol Crater. Back to Ungol Crater, as well as making it be a bit easier to compete for Devil Sword Letter on PvE servers. Well, and PvP servers. The number of pirates on the Bosun Strengthorn Vale will be unreduced. Will be reverted to its patch 1.3.0 values. To go towards making the game harder. The number of syndicate members in Strongbrod. How the hell do you spell that? Strongbrad. Will be reverted to its patch 1.3.0 values to go towards making the game harder. The respawn rates of the Trogs in Loch Modan will be reverted to their 1.3.0 values to go towards making the game harder. The levels of Camp Mojok's NPCs will be reverted to their pre-1.4 values because I'm just gonna leave that out. Actually, it's just PvP stuff. It's not even that important, that one. Unbuff the levels of Camp Mojok's NPCs. The aggro radius reduction of the bears and wolves in the Silver Pine Forest will occur. The bears and wolves in Silver Pine Forest will have their pre-1.4 aggro radius hit. Yes, their pre-1.4 aggro radii to go towards making the game harder. The level of more bent fell. I don't want people to feel like they have to be over leveled to do that quest, so I'm actually going to leave that out. More bent fell. Level 32? Yeah, level 32. Made more bent fell be level 32 again. I don't want people to feel like they have to be over leveled for the mobs on the way to more bent fell to beat him. Not the best way to describe. What the? Oh, right. Not saving it. It's just. Actually, save as. That is actually supposed to be over. Anyway. Storm Shadow will be put back in Philwood where he was before to make in early vanilla to make quest speed just a little bit further away from being streamlined. Copy. Paste. NPC set up Thunderclap will deal physical damage to the ability instead of nature damage, for the sake of consistency. That is to be consistent with the Warrior's Thunderclap. The damage dealt by these particular Thunderclaps will be increased by 7.52%. This isn't right. Hold on. I had this written down somewhere. Not by 7.52%, but by 15.0213953,488,372%. Due to the damage type conversion. Okay. Resist Arcane, casted by Scarlet Magic in the Western Plague Lands, which increases the target's arcane resistance by 78 for an hour, has its duration reduced to 3 minutes to prevent it from being used to make raids, Shatter and Azargos, easier. Hellkiller's remains are no longer guaranteed to drop a green item. He'll instead drop items to the standard, non-rare, non-boss, elite NPC of his level. He doesn't need to get farmed for gold, and especially not during the first few weeks of the server's lifespan. Moshog Shamans now know Purge, rank 2. This is because they drop a totem buff as a spell, Purge. More on that in Section 4 items. Section 3 items. Grim to the Naturalist now know a version of Hibernate lasts for 40 seconds. This is because they didn't drop an idle that buffs a spell, Hibernate. More on that in Section 3 items. Large Vile Slimes will appear larger than Vile Slimes instead of appearing smaller than Vile Slimes. Because, duh. Ranged attacks will be given to the guards at Menethil Harbor, Theramore Isle, and Aberdeen that are near the boat, but not the ones that aren't near the boat, who will attack the Horde when they're on the boat, and those guards will be buffed as mentioned below. Copy. Paste. All guards in all neutral towns will be made immune to all forms of crowd control and movement impairing effects, have 300% of normal run speed, and will have stacking nets with no cooldown at a 100-yard range, and they do not require line of sight. Don't require line of sight, and will inflict you with a hefty dot, and will also learn Summon Player, which is a 100-yard range and no cooldown and does not require line of sight to cast. Copy. Paste. So no, you can't get around the guards. Neutral towns are going to be safe if they have guards. The dragon that flies around the Syrian Gorge of Blackrock Mountain is now a targetable non-player character that can be killed. He, or she, is an elite drake of some sort. I forget what the dragon is supposed to be. The auctioneers will, where applicable, no longer auction items that have less than their maximum durability if it wasn't the case before. And they'll enforce a minimum bid price for all items equal to at least vendor price. This will prevent people from auctioning items for less than vendor price, which would be very slightly bad for the economy if it happened. The maximum durability part would presumably make it be easier to implement the vendor price minimum. Hivashi Stingers and Swarmers will have special abilities like the Stingers and Swarmers of other Solithic Hives instead of having no special abilities at all. Hivashi is the one right next to Zenera and Holden Solicus. The easy hive. Venom Hide Poison's duration will be lowered to 2 minutes to make sure that tryhards don't abuse it in raids. Seeing as how it is now the only temporary weapon enchant in the entire game that is not either a shaman enchant or a firestone or a Something else I forgot that's class specific. The following non-player characters will normally be found out in the wild in stealth mode. Yes, now that sharpening stones and weight stones no longer give you a buff, a temporary weapon enchant, and instead are a blacksmithing buff that only blacksmiths can use and do not qualify as a temporary weapon enchant. And Frost Oil and Shadow Oil are no longer temporary weapon enchants, but instead simple regents. Mere regents. Venom Hide Poison is now the only temporary weapon enchant option for many members of the Alliance. And for all Horde offhand weapons. So yeah, I don't want tryhards feeling like they have to get Venom Hide Poison, especially now there's no debuff. There's the debuff on the 128. To keep tryhardery on a leash. How to save tryhards from themselves. Yeah, that sounds better. Venom Hide Poison duration will be lowered to 2 minutes to save tryhards from themselves. Now that Frost Oil and Shadow Oil are in temporary weapon. Oh yeah, poisons. Rogue poisons are also weapon enchants. I forgot. Temporary weapon enchants. Now that Frost Oil and Shadow Oil aren't temporary weapon enchants anymore, and sharpening / weight stones are only usable by blacksmiths and don't count as temporary weapon enchants anymore. Copy. Paste. The following non-player characters will normally be found out in the wild in stealth mode. Duskstalker, Moonstalker, Moonstalker Sire, Moonstalker Matriarch, Young Panther, Panther, Curzon War Panther, Ridgestalker, Patriarch, Ridgestalker Patriarch that is, not regular Ridgestalkers, Bagzera, Elder Shadowbot Panther, Jaguaro Stalker, and Bethekian Panther. Sulflat Scavengers, Sulflat Vultures, and Black Slayers will know an appropriate version of... That's not how they changed. Ooh, that reminds me. Sulflat Scavengers and Vultures needs to know Execute instead of Dive. Made Sulflat Scavengers, Sulflat Vultures, and Black Slayers know Execute again, and not know Fatal Bite. I didn't say Spy Flare there, huh? Oh, fuck, how do I have this volume? Jeez. Salt Flat Scavenger. Flats Scavenger. Okay. Special. Special knows Execute instead of Dive. Learns Execute instead of Dive. Copy, paste. Because those birds know Execute before they're tamed. Repost the secondary pet stats document since I changed it. Now I put it in the changelog. Black Slayer. Oh yeah, I just denoted that with a very general change. Where Change some secondary bonus after the pets. Okay, okay. Change around some secondary bonus after the pets. Okay, okay. And other stuff for the pets. Let me see here. Where the hell was I? Was it the non-inventory? Yes, I'm at non-inventory container changes now. Okay, okay. Non-inventory. And a container's loot will be generated when it is first looted, rather than when the container spawns. This will theoretically prevent hackers from forcing certain loot to drop from dungeons and raids. All Black Lotus nodes will be removed from the game, and, as a replacement, Black Lotuses will have, for now, a 9% chance to drop off of Mountain Silver Sage, Plague Bloom, and Ice Cap nodes. This change should make it be easier to compete for Black Lotus spawns, especially for your new player. Knowledge of the game's mechanics and whatnot should indeed be rewarded, but rewarding it by as much as having Black Lotus be their own nodes was going overboard. With that, all mining and herbalism nodes and footloggers, including those inside of dungeons, will be randomly placed within a 50-yard radius of their normal spawn points, and the locations will not be the same every time. And, of course, there will be certain locations where they're not allowed to spawn, such as a wall, the end of the floor, or a less concrete boundary, defined per node. This is to make the world feel more like a world and make it harder to camp gathering nodes, and then it might as well include footloggers too. Non-quest, non-door objects, and summon unlocks will stay unlocked after being unlocked until respawns and despawns where applicable, with whichever obvious exceptions. Not understand. This changes here because it makes sense. Chests can't be opened while you're in combat. Being put in combat while opening a chest will cancel the opening of the chest, but not close it if it's open. This changes here to prevent level 1 characters from farming chests in high-level zones. As part of preventing level 1 characters from farming chests in high-level zones. All non-special chests are placed closer to the relevant NPCs. This changes here is part of preventing. It's here as part of preventing. This change is part of preventing level 1 characters from farming chests in high-level zones. All uninstanced, non-quest items and objects that are chests, footloggers, mining nodes, herbalism nodes, or limited supply vendor items, as well as all uninstanced, rare spawn non-player characters and all world bosses will have a +/- 5% variability under respawn timers. As special exceptions, chests, mining nodes, and herbalism nodes that deliberately respawn your non-player characters will, when their timer is up, wait until said NPCs are up to respawn. Need some water. Non-quest chests and all comparable containers, after having anything looted from them, will go under respawn timer and be lootable as normal until they respawn. Looting more from the chest will not reset its respawn timer, and a chest's respawn timer lasts while it's open will not respawn until the chest is closed, at which point it'll immediately respawn, because I don't want people to fight their way through a ton of mobs or chests only to find nothing but a slice of bread in there. But although this would still happen, it'd happen far less often than before. In order to make silver bars, gold bars, and true silver bars not be vendor trash after you've skilled up your profession, the spawn chances of silver veins, gold veins, true silver veins, and their ooze-covered variants will be divided by 3. And the drop rates of silver bars, gold bars, and true silver bars from chests will also be divided by 3. And on a related note, vendors that sell silver contacts, gold power cores, or true silver transformers will restock them 3 times slower than before. Them and not other items will get restocked slower than before. The respawn timers of all mining nodes will be divided by 1.5 in order to accommodate the addition of the jewel crafting profession born out in section number 8 playing born out in professions, if I call it section 8.9. Ooh, is it thundering outside? It's too dark to tell. Thin Kodo letter is no longer dropped by Kodo Beasts. Instead, it's skinned from Mulgor's Kodo Beasts. Each existing spawn point in the Fellwood Plains will vary by ±- 50 yards, and where applicable, and their spawn terrains will vary by ±- 5%. Chests that are not obtained from fishing will be modified as such. Lockpicking values are subject to change. Chests, where applicable, will have a 20%, 100% in some cases, chance to spawn as a locked version of that chest, which has loot that's 3 levels higher on average. Chests will contain equipable gray items, food, water, healing/mana potions, bags, gems, herbs, hides, silver, gold, true silver bars, or green, blue, rare, or epic, very rare, items or recipes, or if it's too low to have green stuff, white equipable items. And all of it will be within the chest's level range. All standard level 6 to 10 zone chests will be called Satyr chests, which will contain item level 1 through 10 stuff. That is, character level 1 through 5 stuff. Remember, item level equals character level plus 5 in general. All standard level 11 to 15 zone chests will be called Oaken chests, which will contain item level 11 to 15 stuff. Cedar is softwood. Actually, I forget if you call it that. And oak is hardwood. But yeah, oak is harder than cedar. All standard level 16 to 20 zone chests will be called stone reinforced chests, which will contain item level 16 to 20 stuff, while all the locked ones will be called stone bound chests, which will contain item level 19 to 23 stuff and require 1 lock picking to pick. All standard level 21 to 25 zone chests will be called copper reinforced chests or tattered faction strong boxes, which will contain item level 21 to 25 stuff, while all the locked ones will be called copper bound chests, which will contain item level 24 to 28 stuff and require 20 lock picking to pick. All standard level 26 to 30 zone chests will be called bronze reinforced chests or faction strong boxes, which will contain item level 26 to 30 stuff, while all the locked ones will be called bronze bound chests, which will contain item level 29 to 33 stuff and require 45 lock picking to pick. All standard level 31 to 35 zone chests will be called iron reinforced chests or 30 faction strong boxes, which will contain item level 31 to 35 stuff, while all the locked ones will be called iron bound chests, which will contain item level 34 to 38 stuff and require 75 lock picking to pick. All standard level 36 to 40 zone chests will be called steel reinforced chests, which will contain item level 36 to 40 stuff, while all the locked ones will be called steel bound chests, which will contain item level 39 to 43 stuff and require 1 to 10 lock picking to pick. All standard level 41 to 45 zone chests will be called mithril reinforced chests, which will contain item level 41 to 45 stuff, while all the locked ones will contain mithril bound chests, which will contain item level 44 to 48 stuff and require 150 lock picking to pick. All standard level 46 to 50 zone chests will be called thorium reinforced chests, which will contain item level 46 to 50 stuff, while all the locked ones will be called thorium bound chests, which will contain item level 49 to 53 stuff and require 195 lock picking to pick. All standard level 51 to 55 zone chests will be called enchanted thorium reinforced chests, which will contain item level 51 to 55 stuff, while all the locked ones will be called enchanted thorium bound chests, which will contain item level 54 to 58 stuff and require 245 lock picking and pick. All standard level 56 to 60 zone chests will be called arcanite reinforced chests, which will contain item level 56 to 60 stuff, while all the locked ones will be called arcanite bound chests, which will contain item level 59 to 63 stuff and require 300 lock picking to pick. New chests will be added to 40-man raids, which will be called Zolion chests, minor cache of the Fire Lord, minor cache of the Black Dragonflight, minor Scourge cache, or minor Karaji cache, depending upon the raid that it's found in. These chests are trapped and locked, and require 310 lockpicking to pick. And the chests themselves contain item level 63 and 65, so for 10 times the normal chance of blue and epic items. And 310 trap disarming to disarm. And the chests themselves contain item level 63 and 65, so for 10 times the normal chance of blue and epic items. These chests take 30 seconds to lockpick, and opening them or beginning to pick their lock will alert every mob within a 100-yard radius of your presence every time you attempt it. Will aggro every mob within a 100-yard radius every time you attempt it. To do so. This is actually already in the changelog, though in more general terms, so I don't have to include those minor alterations in the changelog. These changes are to clean up chest contents and names, to flesh them out, and because it makes sense for locked chests to have better stuff than unlocked chests. The regular cache of the Fire Lord from Major Domo Executives will require 310 lockpicking to open, and the 4 Horseman chests require 310 lockpicking to open as well. You get 310 lockpicking by being a level 60 rogue with 300 base lockpicking, and equipping Dark Letter Gloves of a +5 lockpicking enchant. Quest changes. Some class quest changes are found in section number 6, classes and races. The rest are found here in the next section division. Here and in the next section division. For changes to Encourage event quests, scroll down to the section division AQ event changes later in this section. For changes to PvP quests, see section number 5 PvP and its subsections. NPCs that have quests that are of too low... What the hell did I just do? NPCs that have quests that are of too low level to result in them having a golden exclamation point over their heads will instead have a copper exclamation point over their heads, making it easier to find very low level quests. Chen's empty keg and the associated quests will be removed from the game to reinforce Pandaria's being retconned out of existence. Chen was originally a joke character, and it's gonna stay that way forever. The Alliance will be giving 2 or 3 new quests that reward item level 63 blue items to compensate for the Horde getting more item level 63 quest rewards than the Alliance did. See how much I have to go. Quite a bit of stuff. When Smokey sings I Get Violent will require you to get credit for blowing up every structure one time, as opposed to blowing up the same structure multiple times, in order to complete the quest. Servants of Grawl, Alsarge, Sevine, and Razulik will no longer be able to level up your weapon skill when they are unkillable. This is to make it be less trivial to level your weapon skills. Servants of Grawl, Alsarge, Sevine, and Razulik are granted immunity to charm effects. They're already mind-controlled. And, more importantly, it prevents them from being used to perform various exploits. Fix the quest, A Crew Under Fire, will be fixed. And it'll be made sure that it has some sort of reward for its completion, even if it's just experience, and it won't be repeatable. I have not looked at some of these changes for a few years. Maybe a few years. For maybe 3 years. The duration of Zorbit's Ultra Shrinker will be reduced to 1 hour. It doesn't need to be any longer than that. That's the thing that you use to shrink the giants in Feralis for the for a quest. The quest timer of the quest Alpha Strike, also for a lost quest, will be lowered to between 20 and 30 minutes. The quest timer is too long to be significant for all but very underleveled characters. The number of Centaur required to unleash Warlord Kromzar, as well as the quest timer for the related quest, Counterattack, will be reverted to their patch 1.1.2 values, which would make the quest be harder, which is the intention. Not 1.12.2, but 1.1.2. The light that shines above Sazeral's pick will be removed to go towards making the game harder. The light that shines above Sazeral's pick will be removed. Remove the comments to go towards making the game harder. Copy. Even if it is a starter zone quest. It'll be made sure that Deep Strider tumors drop from Deep Strider giants as well as originally intended, and not for green dragon whelps like in the Burning Crusade. Like the Burning Crusade change. Making players go to this list isn't so bad, it doesn't sort of exactly be a change. It'll be ensured that the quest Compendium of the Fallen is not only unobtainable by undead players, but also can't be shared with undead players, because of what the quest involves. The Crystal of Zimbalor will deal 2,000 damage and drain that much mana both instantly and not per second if you're not worthy, to prevent it from being used to break crowd control effects. Skull of Impending Doom is fine, however. The quest, Field Duty, will no longer reward the player of any scenario on Circle Reputation. Lets players to do quests over and over again without killing anything or doing other quests for easy scenario on Circle Reputation. Because Chandra is a deity and one worshipped by a boss in Zul'Gurub no less, the quest, Summoning Chandra, is turned into a level 60, 55 minimum, 10-man raid quest, and Venom to the Undercity's rewards are upgraded to level 63 blue items. Any quest, Summoning Chandra, will merely summon her avatar, who will be a level Skull raid boss, instead of Chandra herself. Speaking of this quest change, the completion text of the quest, the name of the spider god, will be changed to say, in total, Lord no Chandra speaks its name only whispers, for its utterance carries much weight in the realms of the spirit. Now, put its parchment and create a spell summoning, but a band of people like you wouldn't stand a chance against an avatar of Chandra. Come back to this parchment when you're stronger. Any part of the quest description that says that he must summon their god will be changed to say that he must summon their god's avatar. Horns of Nezra will now grant a substantial amount of Ravenholt's reputation upon its completion, because why wouldn't it? The Dungeon 1, formerly Dungeon 2, quest chain has its financial requirements halved, rounded up, because its rewards won't be as good as they were in vanilla. Speaking of which, this was mentioned in section number 2, number 3 items. But these quests will now reward you with D1 gear instead of requiring D1 gear to complete, and D1 gear is now only obtainable from these quests, and the D2 sets don't exist anymore. Copy. Paste. The Brood of Nordozomu's quests to get a different, not upgraded, ring will require, instead of 15 of 3 different kinds of scarabs on Courage, which no longer exist, a number of large and small obsidian shards, as well as a large amount of light solicit carapaces, heavy solicit carapaces, and even more solicit shit. The Booty Berry Teleporter won't work for you when you're in combat, or for 5 seconds after leaving combat either. This should prevent exploits. If someone, non-player character or not, interferes with the quest, a balance of light and shadows by killing these skeletons that spawn, or if the priest on the quest uses a health stone, then the priest on the quest will instantly fail the quest. Oh, a health stone. No, not the priest uses a health stone. Copy. Enabled priests to use health stones and profession cooldowns for the balance of light and shadow. I just changed my mind about that, which is why I changed it. Anyway, whenever someone interferes, which includes doing anything to the mob if you have the demon's hidden in your inventory or on a quest to fight mob, the fighting of the demons whose heads are of the objectives of the quest save the ancients. Whenever someone interferes with the fighting of the demons whose heads are the objectives of the quest save the ancients, the demon will simply despawn and the cleaner will not spawn. Won't spawn. Whoops. Enabled hunters who use health stones for the stave of the ancients. The demons whose heads are the objectives of the quest stave the ancients will no longer have their heads on their loot tables on the killers on the quest to obtain those heads. Instead, upon death, the relevant demon's head will spawn in the killer's inventory if the demon was properly slain, meaning that you and / or your pet did 100% of the damage dealt to the demon, and meaning that the combination of you and your pet dealt 100% of the damage to the demon, and a back slot was available for it. Oh. And profession cooldowns. Go over which profession cooldowns can be used to exploit the stave of the ancients and the balance of light and shadow. And then disqualify players from the quest or however if they use those profession cooldowns. Okay. Dreadful Fright is now a horrifying instead of a fear. As such, a preemptive curse of recklessness casted upon a hunter will not trivialize the fight against Solon or the Slayer. Copy. Paste. Quests that ask you... Oh. Copy. Paste. If it wasn't the case before, you cannot cause a demon that's part of the stave of the Ancient's quest to reveal Symonic form if you already have its head or have completed the quest, save the Ancients. This and the other relevant changes should prevent hunters from selling quest completions to other hunters, meaning that hunters will have to actually be good at their class to complete the quest. Quests that ask you to obtain more than one of an object that is looted from a non-corpse, some of these will take place in a larger area by having the relevant subzone, however, be expanded so that there's more of the object to go around it. For example, you're playing with a friend and both trying to get the quest done at the same time. I have yet to determine which quests and areas in particular will be affected by this change. It'll be ensured that buffs such as Ekiyachi's Grace, Ishamuhal's Rage, and Strength of Isha Awok are given to the player after completing your respective quests. Young Arakara will be renamed to Baby Arakara to reflect Arakara's real power level. Arakara will be renamed to Juvenile Arakara to reflect Arakara's real power level. After all, Magatha Grintoma said that a Karen Bloodhoof of all people should be afraid of Arakara, which probably wouldn't be the case until Arakara is fully grown. Sindal will be turned into an elite mob, the associated quests will be labeled as a group quest, and the rewards won't be increased accordingly. it'll be ensured that you cannot do the quest Baronacanus, however the hell you pronounce that, more than once per character. So no, you cannot get 2 Outlaw Sabers on the same character. Logistics task briefing 4 will no longer ask for oil of immolation. It instead asks for other stuff, seeing as how oil of immolation was removed from the game. Scribe material also asks for 2 small brilliant shards instead of 2 large brilliant shards to increase the value of small brilliant shards to some extent at least. Tainted vitriol will no longer be bind on pickup and will be able to be seen if as an area on beacon, seeing as how jewel crafters can use it to craft shadowy endgame jewels as a max level gem. Tome of Valor, Part 4, will reward you with Sense Undead and Sense Demon instead of Sense Undead and a green shield. The Test of Righteousness, Part 3, will also reward you with a blue one-hander and a blue shield. Touch of Zanzu will now instantly reapply itself when it wears off unless it gets dispelled by Eau de Mixopixel or Hinot's oil. It'll persist through server resets, potentially by checking to see which quests you've done upon login. The turning quests for Savage Rods, Dark Iron Scraps, Bone Fragments, Cryptine Parts, and Corpse of the Elements will be removed from the game, as well as Insignia of the Dawn of the Crusade. The rewards for turning in this Insignia will be removed to Argentana Revered reward for the blue items, and Argentana Exalted reward for the epic items. The quests and NPCs can stick around, though. Quests now offer a choice of blue or epic quest rewards. Oh, and by the way, all these items were removed from the game. Yeah, I already said that. Okay, good. Quests that offer a choice of blue or epic quest rewards, or quest rewards with unique effects, will reward you with all the items rather than just one of them. Exceptions shall be made for quests such as Captain Conqueror / Evoker / Protector, which already has assistance with others to pick a different ring as you chose one. This way, players won't potentially have to fall into design traps. They will have to potentially choose which spec to get their best slot for item for quests, among other lesser concerns, and yeah. Well, among other concerns. I'm going to remove that lesser part. Quests will sometimes offer a choice of jewels made by jewel crafters to the player as an additional reward, which will cause low level players to actually socket their leveling items that they get from quests, and therefore, or for quests and dungeons, and therefore make low level socketed items not suck in practice. These rewards will never include pearls unless they include pearls anyway, seeing as how pearls are also reagents for many craftable items. The quest, Pearl Diving, will no longer reward the player with flash bombs, seeing as how they now require engineering to use. Troll Kalar, being a legendary item according to the quest text that exists in vanilla, will now be a legendary item that requires level 61. You can't only be level to the level. That requires level 61 to equip, the max level is 60, and it will be looted with its now separate sheath, which is an epic item. The quest, A Donation of Wool, will first require you to do a quest called a Donation of Linen, whose objectives and rewards are pretty obvious and requires level 5 to do. This will serve to cause a bit less linen to get vendored. As you can do cloth turn-ins for reputation of capital cities, you'll now also be able to do leather turn-ins. There will be light, medium, heavy, thick, rugged, heavy, and there will be light, medium, heavy, thick, rugged, and repeatable rugged leather quests, just like with the cloth quests. The quest, The Perfect Poison, will also require you to acquire Mayexna's Venom Sac and Princess Huron's Venom Sac, and the quest will give Ravenhold reputation instead of Cenarion Circle reputation. Obviously, this quest will not be offered until after the AQ gates are open. The quest named Forge The quests named Forged Steel will be renamed to Forged Copper, and the relevant quest line will also be renamed to Forged Copper, seeing as how steel used to make stuff far more powerful than mere level 15 items. Ungoro Crystal quests shall be changed as such. The Northern Pylon shall only offer repeatable quests for Crystal Undetermined Name, Crystal Undetermined Name, Crystal Undetermined Name, and Crystal Spire, which gives you a 5 Strength Jewel, an item that grants 30 arcane resistance buff, an item that grants 13 resist all buff, and an item that grants 12 Thorns Edge buff, respectively. The Eastern Pylon will only offer repeatable quests for Crystal Undetermined Name, Crystal Undetermined Name, Crystal Undetermined Name, and Crystal Focus, which gives you a 10 Attack Power Jewel, a 50 Armor Jewel, an item that grants 30 Shadow Resistance buff, and an item that grants 4% Spell Hit buff, respectively. The Western Pylon will only offer repeatable quests for Crystal Unknown, and for Crystal Undetermined Name, Crystal Undetermined Name, Crystal Force, and Crystal Ward, which gives you a plus 5 Agility Jewel, an item that grants a 30 Nature Resistance buff, an item that grants a 30 Spirit buff, and an item that grants a 300 Armor buff, respectively. Changes related to Hunter Pets. A level 56 or higher, a level 56 Tameable Hyena will be added to the Western Plaguelands. This hyena used to be with the Scarlet Crusade, but fell victim to the plague and was abandoned, and managed to grow stronger. This hyena, when tamed, offers Execute 4, see section number 6.4, Hunter Pets for more information, and Bite 8, and is the only source of Execute 4 outside of Naxxramas. This NPC's respawn time will be 3 hours so that there isn't too much competition to tame this hyena. Paste. A level 60 tameable gorilla will be added to the Direball Arena as a boss. When tamed, he'll know Thunderstomp 4. A level 60 tameable gorilla will be added to the Direball Arena spot. Okay. A level 60... A level 60 Patrolling Rarely Gorilla will be added to Feralis. Yeah, now I remember, it's not Ungoro, but Feralis, who patrols most of the zone. When tamed, he'll know Thunderstomp 4. This gorilla, the Direball boss, will be the only sources of Thunderstomp 4. Which is a new rank, by the way. Copy. Dreaded Screechers will know Screech when tamed, obviously, so that Screech 1 can exist, and as bats and carrion birds will no longer know Screech when tamed, and get their own species-specific skills instead. See section number 6.4, Hunter Pets for more information. A group quest chain will be added to Gadget Sand and takes place in Gadget Sand's arena in the center of town, and involves you and probably a friend or two fighting two level 45 to 50 elite enemies. Fighting level 45 to 50 elite enemies in Gadget Sand's arena. One of these enemies will be a tameable level 50 elite tall strider who knows the maximum rank of Kick Pet when tamed. See section number 6.4, Hunter Pets for more information. And the only quest rewards that are items will be a choice of green items, which will be offered at the end of the quest chain. Copy. Paste. Dreadmaw Crocolisks will know Bite 2 when tamed instead of Bite 1 because the NPC seems to be of a high enough level to know Bite 2 when tamed. Barnabas will know Bite 5 when tamed instead of Bite 6 because the NPC seems to be too low a level to know Bite 6 when tamed. Longtooth Howlers and Silvermane Howlers will know Furious Howl 3 when tamed instead of Furious Howl 2 because the NPCs seem to be of a high enough level to know Furious Howl 3 when tamed. The boss, the list of the Swarmers, Creepers, and Protectors will be replaced with those with actual solicited and be reclassified as insects. To some uninstanced area in the game, to some uninstanced place in the game, a tameable rare spawn scorpion will exist that looks exactly like Swarmers sitting in patch 1.12.2 so that you can still get a Cyan's Corbin. In the outskirts of the Direball Arena, there will be an elite rare spawn Wind Serpent. This Wind Serpent will be level 60, have a 3-hour respawn timer, and be the sole source of Lightning Breath 6, seeing as how Sons of the Car cannot thematically non Lightning Breath since it makes more sense for them to lure Poison Spin instead, which they do. The outskirts of Direball will have an elite rare spawn Wind Serpent added to them. Copy. Paste. Not in chat. All tailable beasts will be susceptible to freezing trap, including all tailable beasts in Zul'Gurub. This does not mean that beasts of frost resistance will not randomly resist freezing trap, however. See section number 6 before 100 pets for more information about 100 pets that doesn't exactly have to do with the rest of this section. Changes related to lock picking. All locks that require the Child Forge key, Skeleton key, that is the Scalavan's key, the key to the city, the Crescent key, or the Gordak inner door key will require 300 lock picking to open. The door after Razor Gore the Untamed won't open after Razor Gore the Untamed is defeated. In order to progress further through the raid, the door must be picked by a rogue with 310 lockpicking skill, and opening it before Razor Gore the Untamed is defeated will cause the Furion to immediately stop using the Veil Straws and wipe your raid, and heal Razor Gore the Untamed to full or even resurrect him to full health, which before will be uneludable in the process of doing so. Copy. Paste. Some other changes to lockpicking can be found in section number 3 items under inventory container changes and section number 4 world under 9 inventory container changes, which I already went over. See section number 8 professions for more information about changes to lockpicking that don't exactly have to do with the rest of section number 4 world. Ooh, I want to make this a reference to the lockpicking section instead. What is that, 8.14? No, 8.13. 8.13. Lockpicking. Okay, lockpicking. Content additions. The good stuff. I'll finish all unfinished as a 1.12.2 quest chains. All unfinished as a 1.12.2 quest chains will be finished, such as the Nothing But the Truth quest chain. Copy. Paste. Generic Elite Bronze Dragon at levels 50 and 53 will be added outside the caverns in time. And Bronze and Chromatic Dragon will be able to drop Bronze Dragon Scales and Skin. On a related note, the Cavern design will never be accessible to players. And said Bronze Dragon Scales will be usable by leather workers to craft stuff. Copy. Paste. Cauldron quests will be added to the Eastern Plaguelands that are comparable to the Western Plaguelands Cauldron quests. New quests will be added to Ungoro Crater from Morvek, who now has his own faction called Ragsor Trainers. This will be the Horde parallel of the Alliance's Winter Saber trainers, but it won't be done the way that Wrath of the Lich King did it. Rather, it'll be done in a way that's similar to how the Frost Saber grind is, except you have to kill more stuff aside from Devil Swords, because the enemies in Ungoro Crater are of a lower level than the enemies of Winter Spring are. Next to Gatekeeper Rage Roar's spawn location will be an entrance and exit to the Timbermaw Hold. A new entrance / exit to the Timbermaw Hold. Mongooses will be added to some places in the game as critters because the game has a few references to mongooses in it, therefore they have to exist out in the world. They can't just be referenced in the game and then not exist out in the world. Unless there's a reason for them being extinct or some shit. In Blackrock Mountain, the Dark-Eyed Dwarves will regularly war with the Blackrock Orcs and Sultura Black Dragonkin in such a manner that players can encounter them and be victims of their fighting in the unintense parts of Blackrock Mountain. These enemies won't have any loot, and the enemies will actually end up killing each other on their own. This is obviously to flesh out the game. Eversong Woods, level 40 to 50, and the Ghostlands, level 50 to 60, will be added to the game. Notes about these zones. The Blood Elves will be a neutral faction called Silvermoon Remnant that has not joined the Alliance or the Horde. There will be a Goblin settlement in Eversong Woods because they want to trade to the Blood Elves. Said settlement will have a boat leading from there to Booty Bay, which will now have a second dock for said boat. The trees in the eastern plainlands blocking the way to the Ghostlands will be removed. Eversong Woods and the Ghostlands will be in the same instance as the rest of the Eastern Kingdoms is, unlike in the Burning Crusade. The Isle of Keldanos will be off-limits to players because the Blood Elves don't want anyone setting foot there after what happened in Warcraft 3. Because this takes place during Vanilla, and not after Vanilla, the Blood Elves won't have built as much stuff or cleared out as much of the Scourge as they had in the Burning Crusade. After what happened in Warcraft 3. After what happened in Warcraft 3. Blood Thistle will be a great item that requires 230 herbables in the pick and vendors for 5 silver per herb. One of the quests will ask for a high 30 staff made by enchanters that requires a lot of vision dust and a few greater bits of Kestis craft. This way, those regions will stay valuable throughout the lifespan of the server. As such, those regions will stay valuable throughout the lifespan of the server. Copy. Paste. See section number 2, Dungeons and Raids, under New Dungeons and Raids for more information. Oldham, the level 50 to 60 zone, oh yeah, not 48 to 55, but 50 to 60, will be added to the game. Some notes. The first raid on each server to kill Cthulhu will be guaranteed to find the Platinum Discs of Oldham, which are a bind on pickup quest starting item. The reward for turning them in, to make sure that they get turned in, will be 10,000 gold in the opening of Oldham. But the discs are crumbling, so they despawn a week after you loot them, preventing people from holding the zone hostage for very long. People holding these discs will be unable to perform server transfers, even for Greymaster related reasons, and if you stop having the discs without having turned them in, then they'll be eligible to drop on your server again. After it was discovered by the Tol'vir that the gates of Ahn'Qiraj were open, they decided to further defend the Halls of Origination by putting a magical barrier around it a la Dalaran, which gets finished during the Second War of the Shifting Sands, during which the solicited find Oldham. Due to Pandaria being completely retconned out of existence and Chen Stormstout once again being a joke character as he had been since before Mist came out, Oldham is not a desert, or place that it isn't, but the lush jungle that it once was, instead of a desert, because Li Shen did not invade Oldham to get his hands on the Forge of Origination since he never existed, which means that the Forge of Origination was never used on Li Shen to wipe him and his armies out and turn Oldham into a desert in the process. As such, Oldham will have different wildlife than in Cataclysm, which won't include camels, armadillos, pygmies, or other animals that were introduced in the Cataclysm. Pygmies aren't exactly animals, what the hell. The Neverset are not hostile because Deathwing has not left Deep Pulm, so they never allied with him, and they certainly are not having a civil war with the other Tol'vir. See section number 2, Dungeons and Raids, under New Dungeons and Raids for more information. The Badlands will be expanded to occupy the vast swath of land to the southeast of it and go all the way to the Red Ridge Mountains, which will have a path connecting the two. This will also have an alliance settlement in the new area to the east of Red Ridge Mountains, and by the way, this does not mean that the burning seats will be changed. Oh. And it'll also have a path connecting it to the burning steeps. What did I just thought of? May the new part of the Badlands contain a path to the burning steeps. How long am I going at it? Hour and 40, only an hour and 45 minutes. Well, Black Shark Cave, that cave to the right of the entrance to Black Rock Mountain and the Syrian Gorge, will now lead to a new zone or an expansion of the Syrian Gorge that contains currently undefined content, except that it will not be endgame content or Alliance territory. And yes, that dungeon in Oldham will still be a low 50s dungeon. It will not be endgame content. With the addition of Karazhan will come the Violet Eye. Their reputation rewards will include patterns and plants or arcane resistance gear, and a ring whose power scales for reputation and whose stats can be picked between like a Burning Crusade. At Friendly, it's an level 59 green. At Honored, it's an level 65 green. At Revered, it's an level 65 blue. And at Exalted, it's an level 65 epic. At the gate in Dark Western Gorge in Winter Spring, that would lead to Mount Hydro if there wasn't a closed gate there. There will be a powerful and friendly green dragon who, when spoken to, explains that nobody is allowed in Mount Hydro, and especially not with the Burning Legion right next to it. More quests will be added to his horror at some point before he let the game come out to flesh out the zone. Some of these quests will come from Timbermaw Hold, which now has an entrance/exit in its tower next to Gatekeeper Range Road spawn point. A new as mentioned earlier. So, the same new entrance/exit. The Horde created a... Wait. Delete. That's redundant. Okay. Okay, got rid of the redundant line of text. The Horde created a small outpost in the Barrens next to the border of Dustswallow Marsh. Its inhabitants are Mosard, who is both a quest giver and a weapon vendor, and so a repair guy, a Nazir, Bloodpike, Krog, Ogron, Dogal, and a food sauce drink vendor. Do note the Practical Village doesn't exist anymore due to the minor wreck content. Let me add the Stone Mall Ogres as a playable Horde race. The following quests in the Burning Crusade will be added to the game, but with the list of changes, sometimes with different quest text, and of course, the changes in section number 3 items under sweeping itemization changes and itemization methodology. Kyle's gone missing from Mulgore. Report from the Northern Front from Ashenvale. Destroy the Legion Alliance. Sentinel Lucio Star Whisperer is an Ashtanar. The Alliance is not turning Forest Song into an Alliance settlement anytime soon. Destroy the Legion, Horde. Diabolical Plans, Alliance. Get into Sentinel Lucio Star Whisper. Diabolical Plans, Horde. Never again, Alliance. Never again, Horde. They call him Smiling Jim. James Heil, both quests. Inspecting the Ruins. A Grim Connection. This does mean that Black Cliff Village and Direhorn Post will be added to the game. Confirming the suspicion. Raptor Captor. Unleash the Raptors. Tebeth's Resistance. Raise Direhorn Post. Raise Direhome Post. Alliance. Justice for the Hiles. Peace at last. Return to Krog. More than coincidence. The Grim Totem plot. Seek out to Demetha. Raise Direhome Port. Raise Direhorn Post. Horde. Justice dispensed. This old lighthouse. Thresher oil. Dastardly denizens of the deep. Is it real? Nat's bargain. Oh, it's real. Take down Tethir. Traitors among us. Propaganda war. Discrediting the deserters. The end of the deserters. The hermit of Swaplight Manor. The hermit of Witch Hill. What's haunting Witch Hill? The Witch's Bane. Cleansing Witch Hill. A disturbing development. Defies and Dustwall. Red McGill. Second-hand diving gear. Recover the cargo. Jaina must know. Survey Alcaz Island. Warren Bolvar. The teleportation will only be offered once per character by making the teleportation be a non-repeatable quest. Use rewarded to teleportation. Return to Jaina. The teleportation will only be offered once per character by making the teleportation be a non-repeatable quest. Use rewarded to teleportation. Prisoners of the Grid Totems. Tebetha's Farm. Check up on Tebetha. The Apothecary's Letter. Signs of Treachery. Undead cannot do this quest. The Regan Thief. Direhorn Raiders. The Zeppelin Crash and Corrosion Prevention. Signs of Treachery cannot be done by the undead because of the content of the quest. For lore reasons, of course. Some water. World buff changes. These changes are made mainly to prevent the stacking of world buffs, which is overpowered in raids, and to nerf them by even more because it still make raids be far too much easier than they'd be without them. When a trigger is caused, most of decapitalize. Whoops. Yes, so when a trigger is triggered that causes an NPC to do something that triggers a world buff, such as Overlord Runthak walking forwards before dropping the Nixie head, then the non-player characters being interrupted during said role-playing will not prevent the world buff from going out. This will be accomplished by having a Game Master Invisible and Game Master Invincible NPC simply give out the buff a set amount of time after the relevant RP event began, should the buff not be on cooldown when the invisible NPC is scripted to cast a buff. Of course, by Game Master Invincible and Game Master Invisible, I do not mean that a Game Master actually goes out of their way to make him invisible, but rather, they have the same invincibility that Game Masters have, and the same invisibility Game Masters have. Copy. Paste. The Blasted Lands buff items are no longer unique. You can have more than one in your inventory at the same time. And they'll stack up to 5. Stack 2 up to 5 items per stack. Copy. Paste. Enabled the Blasted Lands buffs to buff items to stack 2 up to 5 items per stack. Buff items to be less misleading. To not be misleading. Save. 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 The designs of the potions are now require exalted abilities and the Lord tried to obtain. Concerning the Scourge Invasion event, Blessed Wither Oil and Consecrated Sharpening Scissors will be replaced with simple non-weapon buffs that are applied upon completing the relevant quests, which will be classified as the Type A world buff, see below. Or to be classified as Type A world buff, see below. Paste. Whoops. If you have the traces of Solidus buff, but aren't in Solidus, you'll receive an undispellable 1-minute debuff if you follow the description. If you don't go back to Solidus, you lose your traces of Solidus. Traces of Solidus will no longer follow you into AQ20 or AQ40 if it had before. I don't want to have to balance the raids around that buff. If you have the Lord's Blessing buff, by Arnton's Columnist, Trapholm, or the Eastern or Western Plaguelands, you'll receive an undispellable 1-minute debuff that persists to your death in the following description. If you don't go back to Skullman's Trapholm or the Eastern or Western Plaguelands, you'll lose Lordaeron's Blessing. Lordaeron's Blessing will no longer fall you into Naxxramas if it had before. Copy. Paste. Again, because I don't want to have to bounce Naxxramas around having the buff or not having it. Around having the buff. The following buffs will not stack with each other, and it will be considered to be Type A world buffs. All of these will override each other. Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer, Songflower Serenade, Spirit of Zandalar, All Sages Fortunes, Moldar's Moxie, Slipkick Savvy, Fengus Ferocity, Blessed of Black Fathom, all non-portable holiday buffs, the Mangle2 buffs, which only the Horde can get. All other buffs that are granted as a non-repeatable quest reward, such as Ekiyachi's Grace. I'm just going to lay that a Horde only part, it doesn't need to be there. This doesn't need to be there, guys. Save some seconds. Yes, the Mangle2 buffs. All other buffs that are granted as a non-repeatable quest reward, such as Ekiyachi's Grace, Ishambu Hall's Rage, and Strength of Visha Awok. And debuffs that replace Consecrated Sharpening Stone to Blessed Wizard Oil. The following buffs will not stack with each other, nor buffs that are defined in section number 10 other to be Category B buffs, and they'll be considered to be Type B world buffs. Category B buffs are things such as typical 30-minute potions and other potions that last for more than 1 or 2 minutes. Yes, so these world buffs will be considered to be Type B world buffs. War Chief's Blessing. Yes, War Chief's Blessing, even though it is not portable. This will prevent it from conflicting with Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer. Also, the Winter Spring Juju buffs that last for more than 1 minute. The Blasted Lance buffs. On-Grow Crystal buffs. All the Zanza potions. Greater, regular, and lesser mark to the Dawn. And all portable holiday buffs that do not specifically grant you a world buff. Hold on here. Juju. Okay, so all Winter Spring Juju buffs last for more than 1 minute. So I can leave that part out. If and/or where it was not the case before, where it was not the case before, all Type A world buffs will stack with all other buffs, and vice versa. Type A world buffs are changed so that their total benefits are as follows. Durations are not changed. Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer. 5 spell damage / healing, 10 attack power, 2% melee / range crit, and 2 spell crit. Songflower Serenade, +9 to all stats. Spirit of Zandalar, +9 to all stats. Sage's Dark Fortune of Strength, Agility, Stam, and her Spirit, +20 to its stat. Sage's Dark Fortune of Armor, +200 armor. Sage's Dark Fortune of Resistance, 9 resists all. Sage's Dark Fortune of Damage, 40 attack power, and 20 spell damage. Moldar's Moxie, 20 stamina. Slipkick Savvy, 2 spell crit and 5 int. Fengus Ferocity, 40 attack power. Rising Spirit, +10 spirit in total. +10 spirit. Copy. Paste. Razor High. Plus 65 armor and +3 Nature Thorns damage. No longer will it be 25% more armor and 7 Thorns damage. It'll instead be 65 armor, not 65%, and 3 Nature Thorns damage. All gift collection buffs, +20 to their stat. Smitten, +20 stamina. Fire Festival Fortitude, +20 stamina. Ribbon Dance, +20 fire resistance. Not in chat. Fire Festival Fury, +4% melee to search range chase, +2% spell haste, and +5 aim. Celebrate Good Times, +9 to all stats. Invocation of the Wickerman, +13 to stamina and spirit. Elude's Blessing, +9 to all stats. Soul Revival, +40 attack power, 20 spell damage, and 44 healing. Blessing of Zanza, which is only active while in Zul'Gurub. 200 attack power, 100 stamina, 125 spell damage, and 222 healing. Yes, the raid is designed around that buff. It's going to be redesigned around that buff. Debuff that replaces Consecrated Sharpening Stone, +53 attack power versus Undead and Demons. Debuff that replaces Blessed Wizard Oil, +27 spell damage versus Undead and Demons. D below Type B world buffs will be changed as follows, granting only the specified stats unless otherwise stated, and for a duration of 30 minutes as if it wasn't longer vanilla. Warchief's Blessing, 6% melee and range haste, and 4% spell haste. Instead of 15% melee and range haste, instead of just 15% melee haste, 6% melee and range haste, but also 4% spell haste. No longer does it give MP5, or whatever the hell the other thing was. Juju Might now just grants 60 attack power. Juju Power, 30 strength. Juju Flurry will be renamed to Juju Reflexes and grant you 30 agility for 30 minutes instead of 3% melee haste for 20 seconds. New item, Juju Magic, increases spell damage and healing by 30, obtained from Wildkin Eco. Be sure to change the quest settings accordingly. Juju Ember, 30 fire resistance. Juju Chill, 30 frost resistance. A new item called Juju Toughness, 300 armor. Crystal Force, 30 spirit. Crystal Ward, 300 armor. Crystal Spire, 12 thorns damage. New item called Crystal something from Mungo Crater. There's 4 new crystal buffs from Mungo Crater. They grant 30 nature resistances. One grants 30 nature resistance. One grants 30 arcane resistance. Another grants 30 shadow resistance. And the fourth one grants 13 resistance all. New item, Crystal Focus, also from Mungo Crater. Plus 4% spell hit. Dark Desire will now also grant 2% crit chance. Very Berry Cream, 30 spell damage. Buttermilk Delight, 300 armor. Sweet Surprise, 20 MP5. I might actually increase the itemization value of MP5, but I'm not sure yet. Elderberry Pie, 300 armor. Midsummer Sausage, 30 spell damage. Fire Toasted Bundle now also grants 2% crit. Toasted Smork, 20 MP5. Swiftness of Zanza, 30 agility. Spirit of Zanza, 20 stamina and spirit. Sheen of Zanza no longer works on enemies at level 61 or higher. Greater Mark of the Dawn, 30 stamina. Mark of the Dawn, 15 stamina. Lesser Mark of the Dawn, 5 stamina. Mistletoe, 30 spirit. Also, Juju Guile is now obtained from a new item called Owl Eco instead of Wildkin Eco, and Juju Escape will be changed to increase her armor by 330 minutes and be renamed to Juju Toughness, and the quest section of both quests will be changed accordingly. And Wind Blossom Berries still count as well-fed food and grant plus 15 stamina for its duration. Dark Moon Fair changes. The Dark Moon Fair's turn quest will be changed as follows. All turns will not grant different amounts of reputation depending upon how high your reputation with the Dark Moon Fair is. They'll grant as much reputation at 0 if 3,000 neutral, as at 998 out of 1,000 exalted. All turn-ins and tickets will grant you 5 reputation per ticket that you're given. All turn-ins will be repeatable indefinitely, excluding the voucher. All turn-ins that had previously granted 1 ticket will now instead grant 2 tickets. All quests that require level 6 to do will instead require level 5 to do. The new 1 ticket turn-ins will require level 5 to do. 2 ticket turns will require level 10 to do. 4 ticket turns will require level 15 to do. 8 ticket turns will require level 25 to do. 12 ticket turns will require level 35 to do. And 20 ticket turns will require level 45 to do. The quests say that you have a profession will no longer say that you have that profession whether you have it or not. Alchemy turn-ins, new. Warning, all alchemy turn-ins are heavily subject to revision. The values might be off and by a lot. You may now turn in 3 minor mana potions for 1 ticket. You may now turn in 3 rage potions for 2 tickets. You may now turn in 3 elixirs of poison resistance for 4 tickets. You may now turn in 12 elixirs of agility for 8 tickets. You may now turn in 8 dreamless sleep potions for 12 tickets, and you may now turn in 5 major healing potions. Sorry, as I've done for major healing potions for 20 tickets. It'll help to keep major healing potions valuable. Blacksmithing turn-ins. A rough weightstone turn-in will be added. 8 weight stones yield 1 ticket. This serves as a dump for both rough stones and linen and cloth. The Course Weight Zone tournament will be replaced with the Thick War Axe tournament. One Thick War Axe yields 2 tickets. I don't want people having to use wool cloth, which is very valuable, to get Darkmoon Fair tickets. It's better to use thick war axes. Those, let me see here. Thick war axe. Come on, Wildhead. What? Thick. What the fuck is Wildhead doing? Thick war axe. Oh, it has a space. Okay, it has a space. That's why I couldn't find it. Yes, a thick war axe of character level 12 item by level 17 requires 10 copper bars, 2 silver bars, so it's different for both copper and silver. And it requires rough grinding stones unlike others do. So even more rough stones. That means even less rough stones get vended. Enchanting tournaments, new. You may now turn in 3 lesser magic wands for 1 ticket. You may now turn in 16 strange dusts for 2 tickets. You may now turn in 8 soul dusts for 4 tickets. You may now turn in 1 small glowing shard for 8 tickets. You may now turn in 1 small radiant shard for 12 tickets. You may now turn in 3 lesser eternal wands, which are new items that require dream dust, among other things, to craft. Dream dust, and other stuff. Dream dust, Dream dust, and lesser eternal essence to craft for 20 tickets. Copy. Paste. Engineering turn-ins. You may now turn in 5 rough copper bombs for 1 ticket. Jewel crafting turn-ins. You may now turn in 2 +1 spell damage / healing jewels, Malachite, for 1 ticket. You may now turn in 4 +1 shadow resistance jewels, Shadow Gem, for 2 tickets. You may now turn in 2 +2 arcane resistance penetration jewels, Lesser Moonstone, for 4 tickets. You may now turn in 2 +1 thorns damage jewels, Jade, for 8 tickets. You may now turn in 2 +4% lung capacity jewels, Aquamarine, for 12 tickets. Of course, lung capacity means your breath meter. You may now turn in 2 +2 resist all jewels, Azerothian Diamond, for 20 tickets. Do note that the minor speed to boots enchant no longer exists, so this here resource dump for Aquamarine is actually very important. Leatherworking turn-ins. You may now turn in 10 cured light hides for 1 ticket. Miscellaneous item turn-ins. You may now turn in 20 ruined pelts, which are now a white item instead of a gray item, for 1 ticket. Tailoring turn-ins. You may now turn in 7 heavy linen gloves for 1 ticket. You may now turn in 3 barbaric linen vests, You may now turn in 3 of those for 2 tickets. You may now turn in 2 pairs of heavy woolen pants for 4 tickets. You may now turn in 2 crimson silk cloaks for 8 tickets. You may now turn in 3 black mage weave headbands for 12 tickets. And you may now turn in 3 pairs of runecloth boots for 20 tickets. The Darkmoon Fair's ticket purchases shall be changed as follows. They'll give you a 10% ticket discount and exalted for all ticket turn-ins. Darkmoon storage boxes now require 20 tickets, have 12 bag slots, and are not unique. Any quest can be done at level 30+. A small Darkmoon storage box will be offered that has 8 slots and costs 5 tickets. It is not unique. Any quest can be done at level 10 and higher. A jumbo Darkmoon storage box will be offered that is a green item, has 16 slots, and costs 70 tickets. It is not unique. Any quest can be done at level 50 and higher. Minor Darkmoon prizes now cost 2 tickets, and are available starting at level 5, but they only offer either level 10 and 15 stuff. So character level 5 to 10. Lesser Dark Moon prices now cost 5 tickets and are available starting at level 15, but they only offer on level 20 to 25 stuff. The Dark Moon Fair now offers quotation mark Dark Moon prize, quotation mark is, which costs 10 tickets and are available starting at level 25, and they offer on level 30 to 35 stuff. Greater Dark Moon prices now cost 20 tickets and are available starting at level 35, but they only offer on level 40 to 45 stuff. The Dark Moon Fair now offers quotation mark Superior Dark Moon prize, quotation mark is, which costs 30 tickets and are available starting at level 45, and they offer on level 50 to 55 stuff. The Dark Moon Fair now offers quotation mark Major Dark Moon prize, quotation mark is, which costs 50 tickets and are available starting at level 55, and they offer on level 60 to 65 stuff. Yes, this includes TV's Bladed Longsword and Killmaim, and Cloak of Flames, as well as Traveler's Backpacks. Copy. Paste. All Dark Moon prizes will only be capable of containing World Drop equipable items, World Drop recipes, and World Drop bags of the relevant levels. All non-minor Dark Moon prizes will also be capable of containing a blue item, and greater superior major Dark Moon prizes will also be capable of containing an epic item. You can even get a Tibu's Bladed Longsword out of a major Dark Moon prize if you're outrageously lucky. These changes will make Dark Moon Fair tickets be far more desirable than before to most players who have or don't want an epic Dark Moon Fair amulet. And not only that, but this will also increase the value of some items that could really stand to not get vended or destroyed, such as Cured Light Hides, Linen Cloth, Dream Dust, and, Azerothian Diamonds. Not large opals anymore. Azerothian Diamonds. Save. Okay, now I got left. AQ event changes, and then other. Oh, that's nice. AQ event changes. For the Encourage Warfare event, the items that are desired by the quest givers will be randomized for each server in a manner that randomization only happens once per server. Every server will not, replace that won't necessarily have each individual quest giver want the same items as he wants on the other servers, and they'll be allowed to pick from the same stuff that he asked for before 2007 and from other things. This will serve to make the AQ war effort take longer by causing the items that the players stock up ahead of time for the AQ effort by causing those items that the players stock up ahead of time for the AQ war effort to not be so useful for the AQ war effort. And the point of randomizing it for each server will serve to make sure that servers that are not released on day one don't know it's a stockpile ahead of time. Copy. Paste. So, for examples, I could have them ask for sharpening weighted or grinding stones instead of dense stones or even bars of metal. And they could even ask for high-level blacksmithing gear. I could have them ask for cured hides instead of leather, or even high-level leatherworking gear such as quivers or helms. I could have them ask for engineering parts or products. I could have them ask for bolts of cloth instead of raw cloth, or even for high-level tailoring gear. I could have them ask for enchanted materials, or even crafted wands or staves. Here's some examples of what the quest givers could ask for. Yes. I could have them ask for bolts of cloth instead of raw cloth, or even for tailoring gear. I could have them ask for enchanted materials, or even crafted wands or staves. I could have them ask for different herbs, or even for potions or elixirs. I could have them ask for different cooked foods, some of which will be fish. Could be fish. I could have them ask for regular bandages instead of heavy ones, or even have them ask for anti-venoms or venom sacks. I could have them simply ask for different tiers of materials, such as thorium or mithril. And of course, they don't have to ask for 20 of a given item per turn. Copy. Paste. During the AQ opening event and for an hour afterwards, the Alliance and Horde open portals to scenario on Hold in the capital city so that players with medium and low levels can attempt to aid in the fight against the Courage, as well as to make it easier for everyone else to fight them. That is, they won't miss out on the sights, and Solithis just because they're at a low level. However, they should still go out into the world and do the other Solithis stuff too. Well, they ought to anyway. During the AQ opening event, all Battlemasters will head to Solithis to fight and refuse to cave people for battlegrounds. Everybody who is not of a negative PvP rank will not be flagged on contested territory, and /PvP will be forcibly turned off for all players until the opening event is over. Even on PvP and RP-PvP servers until the opening event is over. Borisov of the Shifting Sands and Anachronos will be unattackable NPCs, and Borisov himself will never attack anything, so no, you cannot hold the event hostage for some people or the other by kiting him or some shit, or killing him. The spell, Swell of Souls, casted by Nightmare Phantasms, will no longer trigger when they kill a player, but instead trigger at undetermined intervals of time. Only the first person on each server to ring the gong will get a Black Karaji Resonating Crystal, meaning that only one mount can be obtained per server. If a server has dozens or even hundreds of Black Karaji Resonating Crystals on it, then the item would be tremendously devalued to the point of it being meaningless beyond being a t-shirt that says, "I waited my turn in line and had enough gold and some short friends to buy a ton of stuff to the auction house for a cosmetic item." And that's not even getting into how people would intentionally delay the opening of the gates so that even more people can get mounts. And possibly even charge money to not open the gates, so that more people can get the mount. Copy. So yes, the legendary item is going to actually be legendary. During the events of the quest, a nightmare that manifests, a zone-wide buff that persists through death will affect all players in the scenario on circle NPCs that prevents them from being attacked by players, extending even to outlaws. See section number 5B, negative PvP ranks for more information. Other world changes. All players in the Tainted Scar will be inflicted with a red debuff that deals 450 shadow damage upon application, and once every 15 seconds till they leave the subzone, which will not put or keep you in combat. This can be cleansed by the Elector's Divine Shield by dying and then get resurrected, but it'll be reapplied immediately after it wears off or you get resurrected. This is to prevent level 1 through 5 players from interfering with the Lord Gazak encounter. Unless he gets kited near the entrance of the subzone for some reason. Unless he gets kited near the entrance of the subzone. Or outside of it. Copy. Paste. The skybox, at the appropriate times and in the appropriate places, will contain both of Azeroth's moons, not just one of them, because lore. Some water. Pretty sure it has 2 moons. In order to grant relevance to the path that led from the Blackrock Spire Beneath Zone to the instance entrance, you can no longer reach Blackrock Spire by climbing up the chain outside, then jumping off the back of the chain, and then running along the cliff to jump to the balcony, even though it was intentional. There will be an obstruction, even though it was intentional in vanilla. There will be an obstruction placed between the cliff and the balcony, or perhaps on the cliff. Clicking a sheep, not a polymorphed enemy, 20 times in rapid succession will cause it to explode like in Warcraft 3. This explosion instantly kills the sheep with a predictable animation and leaves no corpse behind to skin. The 20 clicks will only be counted if at least 20 of them are done by the same character with a short enough time span. That one girl in the human starting zone whose name eludes me that used to wear short shorts but was changing classic not plus to have less revealing clothing to once again wear short shorts. If Iron Man Luggins didn't get changed in classic not plus, and BFA had a high chest option that works for women and men, then that NPC can wear short shorts like she used to. Elder Stonefort will be replacing the new Orcish Elder because having the Elder in Blackrock Spire be a dwarf doesn't make sense. Learning to ride a mat will cost 90 gold for Apprentice and 900 gold for Journeyman, both before discounts. Mounts themselves will cost 10 gold for non-epic mounts and 90 gold for epic mounts, including the Frostwolf Tower, its alliance counterpart, and the rank 11 mounts, all before discounts. The non-standard mounts will require training and riding the appropriate type of mount to ride them. As such, Horde of the Frostwolf Tower will require Journeyman Wolf riding, the Strat Dead mount will require Journeyman Horse riding, and etc. But the Garaji Resonant Crystals will not require riding skills to riding because they're very user-friendly. Various neutral NPCs exist on the world that can train you to ride mounts that your faction cannot teach you to ride. Oh, actually, because I added some other guide to the game, I could just get rid of that. Undead Horsemanship will be merged into horse riding. The honor discount will be reduced from 10% to 5%, but being exalted will offer a 5% discount on top of the honor discount. Added to 5% to become 10%. Note that being revered or even exalted had offered no discount beyond honor in vanilla. This will give players an extra reason to be exalted to various factions such as those of their capital cities. Entering the arena in Gadget Sedan will arena flag you until you leave said arena because it's an arena. Because of the area. Because it's an arena. I'll go over the grass placement in Mulgore and make the grass place look less lazy, especially around Northern Somo Lake. The Sludge and Undercity will now deal nature damage like lava deals fire damage to you, except they'll deal a lot less damage. All uncorrupted moon wells will have an aura that restores 100 mana per second to all non-demonic, non-undead spellcasters within 5 yards of its waters. This does, in fact, mean that warlocks and warlock NPCs will not benefit from it. Not counting the Forsaken non-warlocks. Not counting the Forsaken. Within 5 yards of the large. This does, in fact, mean that warlocks and warlock NPCs will not benefit from it. All NPC versions of Thunderclap will deal... Oh. Copy. Control F. Paste. And crit off of melee crit for plus 100% damage instead of off of spell crit for plus 50% damage. For a second, use this. Scroll all the way back up to Resist Arcane. Paste. Don't need this here anymore. Dragonwall Village, but not its quests, will be removed from the game because the ogres were retconned to have never made a village there and fled to Mulgore because now they're a playable race. See section number 6.1 races for more information. Again, they're a horde race. In the interested map, during the part of the world map, the odds north of the western plate grids no longer exist. These odds didn't exist even in vanilla, and they won't exist in this class plus either. Furthermore, the interested map's world map will be changed to reflect the existence of Eversong Woods in the Ghostlands, but not Ul'dah, because that is hidden by the Titans upon the release. Whoa, I gotta put an error key here. To flesh out the game, pre-laid traps will be added to some places in Azeroth where there are hunters, NPCs with pets are not of a high enough level, whether they be in the open world and dungeons or raids. Dale said traps will mostly be mostly inconsequential in the open world, be somewhat consequential in dungeons, but not enough that every group would want to have a rogue in it, be quite consequential in 10-man raids, be very consequential in Blackrock Spire, both parts of which are a 20-man raid, and be devastating in 40-man raids. Said traps, in instances or not, will respawn with its associated enemy, and also, I'm not saying to put any traps near any raid bosses. I'm not putting any traps near any raid bosses. Furthermore, all NPC traps will randomly be placed within a 30-yard radius of their spawn point or patrol route, changing every time it respawns, and Rexar won't use traps since he isn't that kind of hunter. Woo. Now, I do a bunch of changelog stuff, and then I'm done revising this.